Jimmy Butler has built an impressive resume.
It's loose. The lead, Jimmy Butler. And Giannis was trying to call timeout.
However, compared to other Hall of Famers, it falls short in certain areas, while it exceeds in others. But there might be one specific thing holding Butler back from becoming a Hall of Famer: his accolades. Butler has had one of the most unique careers in NBA history. He went from averaging just 2.6 points as a rookie to becoming the bona fide face of the Heat franchise. Someone who is thought of as a hustle guy who played good defense to one of the most clutch playoff performers of all time. Jimmy's NBA career began in 2011, drafted 30th overall by the Chicago Bulls.
With the 30th pick in the 2011 draft, the Chicago Bulls select Jimmy Butler from Marquette University.
His career is an example of grit and determination, as each subsequent year he improved his offensive game while maintaining his elite defense, and becoming one of the better two-way players in the game. His efforts were rewarded in 2015 when he won the Most Improved Player of the Year award. It was around this time that perception began to shift around Jimmy, and much of your NBA career and Hall of Fame status depends on how people perceive you. And Jimmy was being thought of as Jimmy Buckets as he became a consistent 20-plus point per game scorer. Once he became part of the Minnesota team, he led them to their first playoff appearance since the Kevin Garnett years. And when Jimmy found himself wearing a Philly jersey, he helped them have their deepest playoff run in the Embiid era. But it wouldn't be until Jimmy was part of the Miami Heat that everyone truly saw his superstar potential. He became a member of the Heat in 2019, and since then has led the Heat to 3 Eastern Conference appearances and 2 Finals appearances. In the 2022-2023 season, he did the impossible, taking the 8-seed Miami Heat all the way to the Finals. He did so by overcoming juggernauts like the Milwaukee Bucks and Boston Celtics, all the while putting on one historic performance after the other. Oftentimes it's in the postseason when players go from great to legendary, and Jimmy Buckets has definitely earned legendary status through his epic performances. On top of his elite play, Butler has made the All-Star team 6 times, All-NBA team 5 times, and All-Defensive Player 5 times. He was also the steals leader in 2021, an Eastern Conference Finals MVP in 2023, and won Olympic gold in 2016. There is plenty of hardware and accolades to go along with his playoff success, which increases his chances of getting into the Hall of Fame. However, he is missing a few key pieces that would have made him a lock.
Butler. Long shot. Good.
What might hold him back? As we mentioned earlier, Jimmy had a slow start in the NBA. He wasn't given the offensive keys to a team until his 4th season, which is why he has less than 14,000 career points. When it comes to the Hall of Fame, the 20,000 career points seem to be a good indicator of whether or not you'll get in. If you clear that mark and have the type of accolades that Jimmy has, well, then you're pretty much a lock. But Jimmy is well short of that mark currently. On top of that, he has never won a championship, an MVP, or a Defensive Player of the Year award. These are foundational pieces for any Hall of Famer. He was also never close to winning these awards throughout his prime years. And although he has several All-NBA selections, he has never been first-team All-NBA. This could be held against him as the first team is usually regarded as higher than the second or third team. Even in his All-Defensive selections, he has always been on the second team. There hasn't been a single year where Jimmy was looked at as the best in his position defensively or in terms of All-NBA status. And sometimes it's not even your play that keeps you out of the hole. Your reputation can determine your fate, and there were years when Jimmy was seen as the bad guy, especially when he forced himself out of Minnesota. But he has worked and improved his reputation tremendously since joining the Heat. Do you think reputation and attitude play a big role in the Hall of Fame selection? Let us know down below. However, the NBA Hall of Fame isn't too stingy. Many players have gotten into it with similar accolades, and some even with worse accolades than Jimmy. So let's take a look at a few of them and see how Butler's resume stacks up.
Jimmy Butler. Levine on him. Butler spins. Nothing there. Butler. Space.
Hall of Fame comparisons. First up on the ballot is Tracy McGrady. T-Mac is highly regarded in the basketball circles and rightfully became a Hall of Famer once his career was done. In terms of accolades, he made 7 All-Star teams, which is just 2 more than Jimmy, and 7 All-NBA teams. He also has 2 scoring titles to his name. However, T-Mac famously didn't have much success in the playoffs where Jimmy cleared him. The argument isn't whether Jimmy is better than T-Mac, but rather how Butler's accolades and resumes compare with other players, and compared to McGrady, Jimmy seems to have a Hall of Fame resume. However, someone who hasn't made the Hall of Fame yet is McGrady's cousin, Vince Carter. Carter has 8 All-Star appearances, 2 All-NBA selections, Rookie of the Year, and Slam Dunk Champion on his resume. Plus, he has scored over 25,000 points. It is likely that Vince will eventually get in, but the fact that he hasn't gotten in yet is surprising. And Jimmy's list of accolades isn't a whole lot different than Vince's, so this could put a question mark on his Hall of Fame status. But compared to Mitch Richmond, Jimmy seems to have a good shot. Richmond is a 6-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA selection, and a Rookie of the Year. Now that seems pretty similar to Jimmy. Richmond did score more than 20,000 points and won a championship as a bench player, but he has no All-Defense selections. And in his entire career, he only really played in the playoffs 3 times. Jimmy seems to be well ahead in that case and on track to make the Hall of Fame. Lastly, we have Tim Hardaway. Hardaway was known for his crossover, and he made 5 All-Stars and 4 All-NBA teams. In terms of scoring, he is near Jimmy with 15,300 career points. He is considered a Heat legend and even has his jersey retired by Miami. There seem to be a lot of similarities between Hardaway and Jimmy, but once again, Jimmy beats him with his finals appearances and Eastern Conference Finals appearances in the playoffs. The fact that Hardaway still made the Hall of Fame might bolster Jimmy's chances.
46 points for Jimmy Butler. Sets up on 3. Why not?
Now, before we get to our prediction, what are some qualities or benchmarks that you guys think are necessary for a player to hit in order to make it into the Hall of Fame? Let's go ahead and discuss down below. Now, our verdict. One thing that is going against Butler is his age. He is 34 years old and time is quickly running out on how many points he can score and how many more All-Star and All-NBA selections he can stack up. Plus, the championship window is never guaranteed, so it could quickly close. So there is a world where his current accolades are all that he has when the time comes for his Hall of Fame bid. But with that being said, what Jimmy has done so far definitely deserves praise and consideration for the Hall of Fame.
James and Butler throwing haymakers at each other. Butler drives, and he's fouled. And Butler right now is exhausted with 46.7 remaining.
The fact that players with similar accolades like Hardaway, T-Mac, and Mitch Richmond made it should guarantee Jimmy a spot when all is said and done, especially because of his playoff expertise. When people think about Jimmy, they don't remember his All-Star or All-NBA appearance. They remember how he takes his game to another level in the playoffs and has the ability to drag his team to the finals no matter what. This kind of reputation, along with what he has accomplished, should earn him a Hall of Fame jacket when he calls it a career. But it's not like Jimmy even cares. He even said that if he makes it to the Hall of Fame, he won't show up to the ceremony. And it's that kind of attitude that built Jimmy up from being a defensive role player, but it might also hold him back from ever making it to the Hall of Fame. So let us know down below what you think of Jimmy's chances are of making it into the Hall of Fame.